Hi everyone, it's Tasleem here, and today's video is called How I Believe that Tango can connect us to our belt flow and therefore allow us space to be who we truly are. You're probably wondering, what is a belt flow? I promise I will get to that in a moment, but first I want to bring up Tango because that's the dance part of, that's the specific dance that I'm bringing up here in this video. So I remember that when I was learning tango, and especially when I was learning it in Buenos Aires, we were concentrating a lot on the upper body compared to the lower body. And there was a concept that really stuck with me when I was doing a specific ladies styling technique sort of class intensely there in Argentina, where this amazing instructor was talking about the oil and water of tango. How we, as tango dancers, whether you're male or female, she was talking about how our upper body and our lower body need to have a little different consistency, a little different makeup, a little different density, I guess you could say, which is, I'm using that word because that's true for actual oil and water. But the analogy was that the lower part of our body needs to have that weightedness of water. It needs to have, it's allowed to flow and, but it's still heavy. Like when water is in a container and there's a lot of water, whether it's in a bottle or an ocean, it doesn't hide its weight. It has weight, and it doesn't shy away from having that weight and being grounded, like saying like, yeah, I'm weight here, like I'm holding weight and I can move through rivers or whatever it is, but I have weight. Whereas the oil, because it has a different density, it kind of sits on top of the water. It doesn't sink down. It doesn't have that same groundedness. It kind of rises up more. And so the idea was that the upper body needed to have that lightness, like that fluidity, the ability to change, embrace in a fluid manner, but in a way that was different, and a different pull and a push. Like there's a pull and a push between that water and oil. So the bottom part of us compared to the top had to have a different energy about it. So I remember like really being fascinated by this concept in Buenos Aires and getting it sometimes, especially when we were doing the technical classes specifically to it. But I wasn't quite sure yet how I was applying it, or whether I was applying it effectively out on the dance floor. It was kind of sinking in, no pun intended, but it was kind of sinking into my mind, but then in my body. And it wasn't until I came to Vancouver that I had a few really amazing instructors that would tell me when I was dancing with them that sometimes my frame was holding a kind of weight that they needed me to lighten up on. And I was confused because I was like, well, you want me to be connected in my frame, but then you want me to lighten up. So how do I do both of that? And one instructor really, I will have to put his name down into the comments later because it has escaped me for a moment. But one instructor in Vancouver said to me, the weight that you're putting in your arms? That's what I want to feel in your legs, in your lower body, not just your legs, in your lower body. I want to feel that groundedness and that weight there. Because he was saying that the way that I I should be, or that would be more effective for my tango dancing, I was doing the opposite. Like, instead of putting the weight and the groundedness and really using the floor and allowing my body to be heavier from the waist down, I was doing that in my frame because I was a bit nervous and wanted to get things right. But I also was being too light in my legs because I thought I had to be light, because what if like a ocho or baleo comes in and I have to, like, in my mind, I wasn't putting that oil and water concept into practice in my body. In my mind, I was thinking too much about my legs having to do the work, so they should be light. And then I was holding on too much with my frame. But it was actually should be the opposite. It should be that my weightedness is in my legs, and then my lightness is in my frame. And once he said that, I realized, like, this was a few years after I had been to Buenos Aires, and I was like, oh, oil and water. I totally get it now. Like, I got it now in my body, because it was like this energy of upwards with the body and downward with the upward with the upper body from the waist up, and downward with the lower body from the waist down. And the thing is that with oil and water, we usually tend to say that that means that they don't mix well together. But I want to argue that the concept was great to envision that separation, or that pull in different directions. But I don't want, I wouldn't want people to then think that it is a separation, that it is they don't belong together, because the oil and water concept being used in tango actually helps you to move in unity, in alignment, in grace, because the upper body is holding itself up, and it has the weight and the groundedness and the support of the lower body. So that opening, like, to me, it's more of an opening. It's not a separateness. It's like opening something up. It's like rising, the heaven pulling you up to have that beautiful posture upwards, or at an angle sometimes in tango, and then the posture downwards holding you and supporting you. To me, that's like earth, like heaven and earth pulling in different directions, not to pull you apart, but actually, in fact, to pull you together, to balance you. It's like a full balance. And for me, that creates space, especially in the middle section. So I hope you can see where this is leading, because the middle section is actually where the belt flow is, this energy. So the energy systems are called the radiant circuits, and the belt flow is one of the radiant circuits, and it sits, how it sounds, in your belt area, like where you would wear a belt. And I actually wore an outfit today where the separation between the upper and lower is very obvious, and I even put a little belt kind of around the waist to make that apparent, which I'll show you in a moment. But just visualizing that where you would normally wear a belt is where this energy is, where this belt flow is supposed to sit. And to me, that opening up of space, that energy downward with the water, and then the oil upward for the upper body, to me, that space actually reminds me so much of what I've been learning about how to activate the belt flow. And activating the belt flow is so important because the belt flow, if you've been listening to my other videos, it's sitting, actually I'm going to stand up now because it's sitting between, like where the belt is, between this lower kind of pelvic area and the stomach, solar plexus area. That is the second and third chakra. The belt flow sits in between the second and third chakra. And I was holding back from talking about this in the second and third chakra because I wanted to make this separate video of it. But you may have noticed that some of the properties that I was talking about, especially emotionally and even physically, that I was talking about when I was talking about the second chakra versus the third chakra, they kind of overlapped because they actually feed into each other. Like if you have a blockage in your second chakra, that means the flow of energy up into the other chakras, into the third, fourth, and so forth, can be blocked. And even going the other way, all the chakras going up the body feed into each other. So if one of them is blocked, that can cause a blockage in the flow to the other ones. And in particular, the second and third chakras are really important to not have a blockage between, because you may have remembered that I was talking about the second chakra being all about your innocence, your sense of play and wonder and having fun and experimenting and having joy and laughter and like having that innocence of trusting, you know, that you're supported, that things are playful and it's safe to play and experiment and explore. But the third chakra, your solar plexus, sits here, and this is your sense of will. And it's, you know, going after what you really want to do and being confident and getting out there and saying like, this is who I am and my ideas are flowing and I'm gonna just persevere with the ideas that I have, no matter what other people say. And the thing is that if the second chakra has been blocked, has been squashed down, emotionally especially, or through abuse, it could be physical abuse, emotional abuse, it could just be fear, because society tells us that to do those childlike things when you're growing up or when you become an adult is just careless and you're not taking things seriously enough and you need to grow up and all these things. The third chakra you can get confused then, because your second chakra has been squashed down. Your ideas of innocence and creativity, you might be have been told, don't pursue that artistic career, don't pursue that career or that passion that you love so much because it won't give you money, it won't give you stability. So you start listening to society and the fears of your parents or the media, and that third chakra, instead of doing what it should do, which is follow through with its own dreams and believe in itself and have the willpower to go after what it really wants, it starts listening to too many other voices, and this gets really clogged up with too many other people's beliefs, and we start living our lives for other people, sometimes not even realizing like we're unhappy. Like, why are we unhappy? Some people are making tons of money out there and they think that that's what's going to bring them happiness. And I'm not saying it doesn't, but sometimes we pursue things because other people made us think that that's what we should pursue, and we're still not happy. And sometimes we're pursuing careers or lives or relationships that we didn't realize that our culture or our family wanted us to have. or we think that it will look good to other people, but we're so miserable in those relationships. And that is also coming from a lack of flow between the second chakra and the third chakra. And the belt flow, when we make sure that it's activated, can actually help us realign to what our true beliefs are. So that's why this video is called not just how Tango can connect us to our belt flow, but also how connecting to our belt flow, activating it, and getting into alignment with it actually puts us in alignment, not just in our body physically, but also emotionally. We go with what our real beliefs are and who we really want to be, instead of what we are told we should do or how we should be. And instead of letting the fears of other people percolate inside of us and cause blockages, we're flowing, we're going with what we want to do. And, when people who I'm sure, like me, there are people out there that you really admire who just went out and did something that other people said you couldn't do or other people said you shouldn't do. One of my favorite quotes of all time is, "Those who say it cannot be done shouldn't interrupt the people doing it." To me, this is so representative of someone that is so in flow between their second and third chakras. Their will is doing things that they really want to do, who they truly are, instead of who their family, friends, society, culture want them to do. And it's also because they are so nurtured, whether even if it's not through parents or family, it's just through their own self. Like some people do work on themselves and they align back to, even if they've had abuse, even if they've had fear or had their second chakra squashed down, they have become aware of it and they've worked through it. And now they've found flow and they do playful things. They dance, they sing, they do, whether it's movement based or poetry or some sort of expression, something creative. Even if it's cooking or whatever it is, they have brought back that child, that innocence in them. They've nurtured their child within. So now their second and third chakras the energy is flowing through them. And I believe that the space that Tango is always encouraging us to make that upper part of our body up like oil and the lower part of our body heavier like water. That space in between creates space for our energies to flow again. Donna Eden, who is the creator of Eden Method, she's a pioneer in energy medicine, and I've learned a lot of these concepts from her and her daughters. She talks a lot about how stretching and making space in your body actually is not just making physical space, but it's allowing our emotions and our energies to have space to move around and let go, release of things that need to be released, whether it's trauma or fears or even digestive issues in that area. And so the belt flow, as I said, is part of the radiant circuit energy system. And the radiant circuits are all about helping us connect to our joy, to our sense of wonder, to our sense of connection to the divine. Like looking at things that, other people might pass by because they're too in a hurry and they're totally disconnected in their energies and their chakras and they have too much stress going on. But someone that is really connected in their belt flow, really connected in their energies between those two chakras, and has that space to allow them to feel what is it that they really love to do, what is it that really speaks truly of them. That person can actually move through life in alignment, physically, emotionally, and enjoy. Like, they are the people that laugh, the real laughs, like the belly laughs, the deep down inside, like, not fake joy, but real joy. But also those people that can walk through uh, what someone would say is just a normal street or a normal area, and the person that is really aligned and connected in their belt flow can see like wonder in a leaf or in a bird song or in the clouds. Like, if you are one of those people that can see those little moments or feel those little moments of wonder, even if it's like looking at your child or hearing a song and it really inspires you, or you remember times when you were like that, reconnecting and activating your belt flow can bring more of that into your life. So I love this, because this idea, when I think of Tango, for me, Tango really accentuates the belt flow. I used to I still admire women and other dancers, but especially the women, because I am one, but this can be true in anybody, but that would hold themselves up in a certain way where the belt flow, the belly area in Tango especially, seemed so stretched. And I used to think that it was like an aesthetic thing, like, oh, I just want a toned, flat stomach like that woman dancing out there. She looks amazing. And, I would think like, oh, is it the ab workouts? Is she just built like that? Is like, what does someone have to do that? But I realized later that it wasn't just for me an aesthetic thing. Yeah, it looks nice, but there's a feeling, there's an energy coming from that person, in my opinion. And I didn't realize till later that that energy for me is this, like, I feel like that person has freedom. They have found a freedom to make that space within their middle section to grow and be who they really want to be. Even if they have fear, they still go after what it is that how they truly are, instead of letting the fears of other people hold them back. And they look very grounded, because their bottom part from the waist down is very, has that heaviness that is not sluggish. It's a heaviness that's active. It's a heaviness that's water that flows. And for me, I now can see this more specifically in Tango, because the way that we have to hold ourselves in Tango, because of the way that, even for me, like that, up and down, heaven and earth, it looks like a separation, like I said, but to me, it's just making space. And for me, even disassociation, like moving your upper body compared to your lower body in a different direction. I don't like that it's called disassociation, because for me, it's actually so connected. Like, it's like the wringing of a towel. In order to do that, you have to stretch something out. You have to um, actually associate. You have to be so much in alignment to make that stretch happen, because it's like a balance. Like, your one part of your body is going one way, the other is going another way, and that twist is actually the opposite of disassociating for me, because in my mind, disassociating means disconnecting, but you have to be so connected, and you have to be so in balance, and you have to be so connected and in balance when you're doing the oil and water of Tango, when you're up high with the upper body and grounded and heavy with the lower body. And I just love this concept. I think that for me, I can see the pleasure and the why tango for a lot of people can bring out this sense of pleasure and wholeness and healing in it that other people might not be able to see if they haven't tried it or if they haven't felt it. I think it comes from this idea of this stretch and really like accentuating this this middle section, which is, I've heard also sometimes called, that belt flow is also sometimes called the girdle vessel, but it's an energy that is around your belt area in your body. And once you get tapped into it, it doesn't matter what happens in your life. It's like you get so you find joy in little things, and you also don't feel like, even when something is really heavy and sad or frightening happens in your life, you have this sense that everything's going to be okay. A lot of these concepts, like I said, I've learned from Donna Eden and Titania and Dondi, her daughters, and Eden Medicine. And as I've said in previous videos, this for me is my own perception of which dance or which feeling or which concept a dance has brought out for me in terms of energy medicine and Chinese, traditional Chinese medicine. But it's not to say that it's a rule that tango actually brings out this energy, or it could be that another dance, you're like, oh yeah, actually I feel that in belly dance. Maybe you feel it, or maybe you feel it when you're doing yoga or some other form of movement. But for me, this really resonated and I really want to share it with you. So thank you for listening.